We're now stepping into another set of tools. This one is not a complicated tool. It's called the extrapolation formula. I decided to put this in here because this is the way in which we often do think about projecting into the future, and yet without a formula or some way to guide individuals when you're leading them, it becomes more difficult to say, well, I just want you to think about the future. This formula is based upon a simple premise of looking at the world in the future in several different categories of, first, what is your current condition? You add to that cycles, trends, and patterns that you observe. You then add technology to it, and you can come up with a future. Now, how complicated is that? Look at it from this perspective. Your current condition, if it's done well, your exhaustive current condition, you can describe how you stand today. And that's, if you remember all the way back to the retro, current, and future, you're looking at your condition like a balance sheet. And that could be, if you're in, it doesn't have to be the exact day-to-day, it has to be a span that's considered current for your industry. If you're doing nuclear reactor building or large construction projects, current could be a period of about a year, 2 years. If you're doing technology advancement or product development, it could be within the current month. So you take a time in the present and say, what's our current condition, and kind of outline it. And then what you do is you use the triggers and tools and methodology we've already taught you to look at cycles, trends, and patterns and say, what do you see in all of these different areas? What's happening? You then combine them together and say, now here's the kicker. What technology can apply to this? And you learned about this in the technology sector, where we talked about how Chris Ruffer from Morningstar Packaging had said there was food, water, shelter, transportation, communication, and entertainment. The only thing that's changed is the technology around it. You have to say to yourself, what technology can we apply to any of these areas to modify how the future could be for us, or how you see the future interacting and moving forward? So let me give you an example. In Malaysia, it's very simple to understand that they say that the current, it's not very simple. The current condition is that they saw that they were running out of water. They were having trouble with water. And they knew that this was going to be a challenge in the future. So they did is they hired a company by the name of High Flux to install desalination plants to be able to supply their people with water. That's a forecasting prediction that they are getting ahead of the game so that their individuals can have water. So let's apply this to the formula. Current condition, water shortages. No end in sight, continually happening. The decision was combined with this is to say what cycles, trends, and patterns. Well, they see the growing population and the fact that they foresee no end in sight in terms of the water shortage condition. They looked at technologies out there and say, what technology can we apply to water shortages? And they looked at desalination plants. And the future is they most likely will continue to have challenges as population expands, and they will need. Now, we could see a population decline as countries become more industrialized and the women become more educated. Most signs, most trends or patterns, depending on how you're looking at it, will show that women will have less children, and therefore there will be less mouths to feed. But in the current prediction, they don't see that happening that quickly, and therefore the desalination plants work for them. Your job is to make sure you're looking at it this way, and something such as this extrapolation formula is something you can use tomorrow. You could sit down with your team and say, let's try to map this out with no extra education and be able to come up with better results than you had when you started. Nice, simple tool to work with.